Welcome, everyone, to my channel. If this is your first time here, pull up a seat, sit down. We're going to talk about this, Dan Brown's The Lost Symbol, the third book in the Robert Langdon series. So, we're getting into another one of his books. Alright, the cover's off because, I can't read with the cover on. So here's a lovely book without the cover. In this stunning follow-up to the global phenomenon, the Da Vinci Code, Dan Brown demonstrates once again why he is the world's most popular thriller writer. The Lost Symbol is a masterstroke of storytelling, a deadly race through a real-world labyrinth of codes, secrets, and unseen truth. Only the watch of Brand's most terrifying villain to date. So within the hidden chambers, tunnels, and temples of Washington, D.C., the Lost Symbol accelerates through a startling landscape toward an unthinkable finale. As the story opens, Harvard symbologist Robert Langdon is summoned unexpectedly to deliver an evening lecture in the U.S. Capitol building. Within minutes of arrival, however, the night takes a bizarre turn. A disturbing object, artfully encoded with 5 symbols, is discovered in the Capitol building. Langdon recognizes the object as an ancient invitation, one meant to usher its recipient into a long-lost world of esoteric wisdom. When Langdon's beloved mentor, Peter Silliman, a prominent Mason in philanthropist, that word that I can't say, philanthropist. I hear so many times of people saying it, but I can't say it. Is brutally kidnapped. Langdon realizes his only hope of saving Peter is to accept this mystical invitation and follow wherever it leads him. Langdon is instantly plunged into a clandestine world of Masonic secrets, hidden history, and never-before-seen locations, all of which seem to be dragging him toward a single, inconceivable truth. As a world discovered in the Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons, Dan Brown's novels are brilliant tapestries of veiled histories, arcane symbols, and enigmatic codes. In this new novel, he again challenges readers with an intelligent, lightning-paced story that offers surprises at every turn. The Lost Symbol is exactly what Brown's fans have been waiting for. His most thrilling novel yet. I don't know about that. There's more. He has more books, obviously. Because this is an old book. Why do I have a hard copy? I don't know. Don't ask me. I really don't like hard copies all that much. But I have this hard copy. Just like a hard copy of Angels and Demons. Now, when was this printed? This book was printed in 2009. Obviously, he came out with a new book this year in 2005 called The Secret of Secrets. Of course, there's 2 more books to read before I can even purchase Secrets of Secrets, and that is Infernal and Origins. So, I don't know why I just put that back on here. I'm not reading this book. Yeah, so I don't know why I just put that back on there. Anyways, The Lost Symbol. I don't recall if this is a movie or not. But whatever, if it is and if it isn't, I don't know. I don't really care. All I know is that this, I am 52 pages into this so far. The reason why it's 52... okay? I'm going to read about 51 to 52 pages a day. Why? Because I still have a week and some odd days left, and I'm just gotta stretch it out because there's no way I'm drawing a new book to read again. Because I want to take my time enjoying this book because it is kind of a chunker, and I just want to enjoy it. So it starts off with stating facts, of course. Fact, in 1991, a document was locked in the safe of the director mentor of the CIA. The document is still there today. Its cryptic text includes references to an ancient portal in an unknown location underground. The document also contains the phrase, "It's buried out there somewhere." All organizations in this novel exists, including the Freemasons, the Invisible College, the Office of Security, the SMCSC, and the Institute of Neotic Sciences. All rituals, science, noble artwork, and monuments in this novel are real. But take everything else as a grain of salt. So somebody gets inducted into some brotherhood. Not exactly where, but it's a temple room. It's somewhere underground in Washington D.C. with the supreme worshipful master, and that the wine they drink is supposed to become poison if they do not do whatever. I don't know. The first thing we get into is Robert Langdon getting into a lift with other people and his father as a little boy, and they're going up, and then the thing breaks and everything drops down, and then he wakes up. Mr. Langdon is on a private jet going to go see his longtime friend and mentor, Peter Solomon. He lands, and there's a person there named Pam, who's from passenger service, escorts him to his car, waiting for him. Charles with Beltane limousine drives him to where he's supposed to go. So 10 miles from the Capitol building, a lone figure was eagerly preparing for Robert Langdon's arrival. This person, who called him Malaka, was doing needlework on his head, tattooing himself on the head, which he's got tattoos covered from head to toe. And then he leaves. Robert Langdon, of course, was reviewing his notes when they went over the Memorial Bridge and saw the Americans' Egypt obelisk, the Washington Monument Tower thing. And then he goes back to when he got the phone call, because at 5 a.m. he went for a swim, 6 a.m. he got home, was making him his coffee, and saw he had a message. Someone named Anthony Delbalt was Peter Solomon's executive assistant, was wanting him to call on his new private line. And then, as he thinks about it, he goes to his room to obviously call the person, and he finds a fax over with the same number asking him to call. So he calls it, for this Anthony answers, and he tells him that, hey, a person that is supposed to give this speech that they're having for this private event could not come in, and as Mr. Solomon's first choice, he was invited to have a speech on the Masonic history of the building, obviously. And it was tonight, and that he would be back by midnight if he left about 5 p.m. So he agreed to that. Now, then it switches to Alphonse Nunez, who's in the U.S. Capitol building. He's a guard. He's the visitor comes in, and he searches it over, and a beep beep happens, and it says, "Oh, I hurt my head, it's sprained or broken," or something like that. And there's a ring in there, and it was so swollen up that they decided just to leave the ring there and wrap it around the ring so I can't get it out. And then he's let through, right? So then it switches to Catherine Solomon, Peter Solomon's younger sister, who is going inside her secret room, inside her secret area. But she does get a phone call from Malak, who says that which her brother believes is hidden in D.C. Is real and can be found. Hair. My hair. I can tell it's my hair. Yeah, fuck. And he's sometimes a legend that endures for centuries, endures for a reason. So the driver stops a good quarter mile from the Capitol building. It said Homeland Security. And so he runs the rest of the way there. He goes through security. They talk about the Mickey Mouse watch that doesn't work. And then he recalls a lecture he had about Washington, D.C. building. In the occult, which is secrets, hidden meanings. And the discussion he has with his students about that. How the masonry is not religious, it's not political, it's not anything in anything. So when he strolls into the National Statuary Hall to be greeted by people, he realizes something is very, very wrong. So Catherine Solomon goes to the Smithsonian Museum Support Center, where Pod 5 is, where the secret lab inside of Secret Museum is, because she's excited for what's happening. There is nobody in the hall, obviously. So he's like, where is this money event tonight? And he's like, I don't know where it is. And so he calls Peter Solomon's office, gets Anthony again. Anthony says, he's like, has the lecture been moved to, he tells him, has the lecture been moved to a different hall? So we still sorry, let me check. He's like, did you confirm this with Mr. Solomon directly? No, I confirmed with you, Anthony, this morning. Oh, yes, I recall that. It was a bit careless of you, don't you think, Professor? He's like, I beg your pardon. Consider this. We see the facts asking you to call a number which you did. You spoke to a total stranger who said he was Peter Solomon's assistant. Then you willingly boarded a private plane to Washington and climbed into a waiting car. Is that right? And he's like, I'm afraid Peter Solomon has no idea you're in Washington today. You were here, Miss Elaine, because I want you here. And he continues talking about how he was summoned and how he has a role to play and that the police will be on their way soon and that he will eventually figure out why he's there. And also that Mr. Solomon is in the RAF, which is basically an in-between world between life and death, and that the only way to save him is to find this ancient portal. Yeah. Okay. So then some screaming happens in the rotund, and when he goes into the rotund, he finds somebody saying he pulled it out and sling and just left it there, and it's a hand. And yeah, it's Peter Solomon's severed right hand because of the golden ring on the fourth finger. Now, Catherine Solomon's wondering her brother is not picking up, and then she remembers when Peter brought her down there and showed her Pod 5, which he built a lab for, but it was dark inside and she had to go deep into it to get to the lab. And he said, leap of faith, you'll find your way, trust me. So she's still wondering where her brother is at. Then it switches to Captain Police Chief Talent Anderson getting a phone call to watch a video of something that happens inside the building, and he sees the dude pull it out, stick it down, and run away. And then it shows, and it talks about how a blonde man with a blue blazer steps out into the night air. And of course, it's Malek. He's saying his transformation abilities are wonderful. Because now he's just a young man walking 6 feet tall out of the building as a tourist. Langdon is looking at the hand without touching it, and he sees a crown and a star on 2 of the fingers, and he knows that there are 3 other fingers with symbols most likely on them. It's called the Hand of Mystery, since someone crafted it out of Peter's hand, and that there's supposed to be 5 in total, and it does represent an invitation, the hand of the master extended to the initiate, and a guard simply pulls him away from it because he thinks it's delusions of a lunatic. So that's where I'm at. Chapter 14, page 53 of it. Do I want to read more? Yes. Do I have time to read more today? No. I've got to get to writing a chapter. I've got to edit a video. And then I've got to cook fucking dinner at some point in between all of that. So, time is not my friend. I started a little late in reading this. But then again, I was reading on my phone fanfiction. I was reading fanfiction on my phone. So, there's that. And then there was having a discussion about stuff that I wanted to listen to. My sister and her daughter was, because her daughter was being weird. 16-year-olds are weird. I tell you, it's just, they're madness, okay? And then I was watching a video, and I still have to sit there and put my clothes up that I washed yesterday. Been a little lazy at that, and as you could hear, my sinuses are acting up, and I've been sneezing a lot for the last 3 days, and it's like getting on my nerves that I can't breathe very well. So that's the update on my life right now, plus this book, which of course has this lovely title of The Lost Symbol by Dan Brown. I read more of The Lost Symbol by Dan Brown. Not a lot really happens in this because it's just getting started, you know, just getting established, right? I wash my hair, body, and my ass and all that shit. No, and my hair, I had to wait until it dries-ish, because if I don't, it's never gonna nada. So, Malik believes he needs to destroy the work that Catherine Solomon is doing. Don't know exactly why he thinks he needs to destroy it, just that he needs to destroy it. It's like his destiny. Her destiny to discover it and build it up and to probably fan the flame and maybe share it. But it's his destiny to destroy it. And he's being very, very manipulative. He's very good at his manipulations too. So, when, Catherine gets into her lab, she does a bunch of checks and everything, and, you know, goes through how she did her experimentations and how they grew and how she found out human thought can really transform the physical world, and, you know, they're the masters of our own universe, because if we put enough exertion into our thoughts, we can make things move. So she goes through and thinks about all of that stuff, the key to their scientific future, about books that have done every advanced theory that we ever have in the very beginning, you know, like theoretical physics, which was done by a 13th century translation of the original medieval Aramaic, superstring theory in it. The complete Zora has a bunch of stuff in it, I guess. I don't know if any of these things exist in real life, but, you know, modern physics will look back on past physics and all that lovely fucking shit. So, Security Chief Trent Anderson walks into the Capitol and wants the hand removed. Well, he doesn't want the hand removed. He wants forensics to come in and get everybody out to the lobby. So then he gets a phone call from the CIA, their Office of Security, head of it being Director Inoue Sato. And, Dr. X Sato gets right straight to the point. I want to talk to a man in the building. His name is Robert Langdon. You will find him, and I'll put him on the phone. So, he puts Robert Langdon on the phone, and then the director's like, hey, I've been told we have a national crisis going on, and I'm told you're the one who has the information that will help me solve what's going on. And he's like, I have no fucking clue. Well, he doesn't say fucking, but he's like, I have no clue what you're talking about. I don't know what's going on. You're gonna have to tell me what's going on, sir. You know, calling it a sir, I guess, because maybe he didn't recognize a feminine voice, because anyway, Sato is a, girl. And then he sees that Sato is there, Anderson does, and she's like, comes up, and he's like, my apologies, ma'am, I didn't know you were a woman, but anyways, regardless of the fact, I do not know what you are talking about. And she's like, really, you don't? And then she's like, Professor, I'm running this investigation. You can start telling me what I want to know. I suggest you not speak unless spoken to. Of course, he doesn't do that. So they're like, but shouldn't we at least print the fingers to confirm the hand belongs to Peter Solomon? And like, I'll confirm it. Langdon's like, I recognize his ring in his hand. The tattoos are new though. And she's like, I'm sorry, what tattoos? And then he's like, yeah, the thumb has a crown and the index has a star, and the rest, there should be more on it, but I can't tell because, you know, it's not down. And so Anderson looks and pulls them up to see what they're there, and he's like, yeah, they're the sun, a lantern, and a key. And he's like, it's the image of the human hand, and he explains what the Hand of Mysteries is. he's like, well, traditionally, ma'am, it was an invitation. She's like, well, for someone who comes down to a clue why he's here, you're doing quite well so far. But he's like, I still don't understand what's going on, right? So then that's Catherine and her helper, Trish Dune, who is making this meta something or another. A meta system, and hired her on, and then Trisha reflects back on to how they met and how they talked and everything about it, and then she gets told that Catherine wants her to build a metaphysical to look up a bunch of keywords, and how Trisha became famous about building a metaphysical after 9/11 happened, to keyword for, terrorism and all that lovely bullshit. Director Inoue, we go back to Director Inoue, Sato, and he's like, she's like, where I got my information is not concerned, because, the man says that you knew everything and we need to do all this. And he's like, there is no portal here, Director Sato, I don't know what you want me to say. And then he talks about how the building was made in reference to the Temple of Vestia in Rome, which is basically the Temple of Virgins, and how there used to be a hole in the middle with a pit down below with fire flaming up, saying, that virgins were supposed to sit there and keep it going. And he's like, oh yeah, that was there. That was there, that hole in the floor was there. And then he goes on to talk about how George Washington and the apotheosis, which is the transformation of a man into a god, which was above them. It's usually called the Michelangelo of the Capitol. And he's like, that's up there depicting it. And obviously, he just explains all of that stuff about it. He's like, there's no need to go up there. He's like, this hand is not the only hand that's been up there pointing upwards. George Washington, depicted as Zeus, pointed up there at one time too. It's like, oh, really? And he's like, well, thinking he's still thinking about stuff. And he does stop short a lot of stuff. He's like, if I knew the next step, I'd tell you, but I don't. Traditionally, the hand of the mystery is extended by a teacher to a student. And then, shortly afterward, the hand is followed up with a set of directions to a temple, the name of the master who will teach you something. But all this guy left for us is 5 tattoos. Hardly. And then he realizes what he's saying. It might not entirely be true. So, they look at the palm, and they find out that there actually are more tattoos upon the palm. And then we go back to Catherine Solomon, pacing her elaborate as she remembers something that happened a little while ago from someone named Dr. Christopher Abaddon, which, if anybody's named Abaddon, I'm going to assume you're part of the devil and I don't want nothing to do with you. Calls searching for Mr. Solomon, Peter, and that she should have known that he was talking to him and that he's a psychiatrist, a therapist, that they're talking about her work, and that he wants to know, she's like, oh, I'm going to get there, I'm going to go there, and I want to meet with you, and I want to talk about what my brother was talking about. And she goes to his house, and they have a bunch of talk, and he's like, mentions something about a breakdown, and he's like, please, I can see how upset at you. He's like, he told me your mother was murdered during a robbery attempt at home, and broke in looking for something he believes your brother was hiding. Your brother said he shot the man dead. He says he knows what it was, and that's what he wants. He's like, I was told a far-fetched tale. He's like, why don't you tell me everything about your research so it could help me explain what's going on with him. And it's just more of a manipulation type deal thing, because we do learn that Christopher Abaddon is Malak, who is also playing as Antonio or Anthony, whatever, one of them. Okay, one of those A's. Then we get back to Robert Landon, and they see IIIX885, and you're like, that's not Roman numerical. Because we spelled VII, not IIX, and then the 885 looks more like Arabic, but at the same time it could be Runic, and he's like, I don't really know. And she's like, well, why haven't you asked about the Masons? The Masons are all part of all this stuff. And he's like, I don't think it's part of the Masons. He's like, but they're very, honest people. You could ask them all kinds of stuff. And then it dawns on him. The reason why he's there, by the gold glint sparking an unexpected memory. But then it's like, it switches to Malik. Getting a recall from Catherine Solomon on Peter Solomon's iPhone, and it's her sitting there saying, I want to talk to you. Where are you? I was still thinking about my conversation with Dr. Abaddon, and I'm worried. Is everything okay? Please call me. I'm at the lab. And he's like, a secure building. I know someone who will open the door for me. Of course you fucking do. You have him. You have Peter Solomon. Of course he's going to be able to open the fucking door for you. That's not a hard grasp, a thing to grasp, okay? I don't even need to read that far to know that. So we go back to Langdon, and he remembers how Solomon came with a covert mission, and he had to ask him in person to hold on to something. It was a heavy package. From the package's heavy weight and size, it felt like its contents must be rock or metal. And he's like, well, what is this? And he's like, why would you sit there and seal it with a package of drink? He's like, my great-grandfather did. And he's like, if what my father told me is correct, then it contains something of substantial power, a talisman of sorts. And this talisman could give people power over something. He's like, and then he remembers how the stupid assistant, as he thought he was Anthony. Yes.
Lizzie.
Yes.
You're leaving.
Okay, I'll be right out there. He remembers the person saying, oh, Peter Solomon left you a note saying, please ask Robert to bring the small sealed package I gave him many years ago. Does this make sense to you? And he's like, yes, I'll bring it. And he brought it. So, that's the big problem right there. Yeah, it is. It's a big problem. Anyways, I have to go watch my niece while people are out, so I will be back later. The lost symbol. I have read more. It's picking up just a little bit right now. It's still going a little slow, but then again, it's still compiling all of its players in the right spot. I'm sure once stuff does happen, it's going to be a little bit more pick it up. So, we go to chapter 35, which is where we're starting on, and it's Trish finds that there are lots of documents with the keywords that she was looking for, but only one that was a small enough size to be relevant from an IP address that they can't access. And it's got redacted information, as you can see on this page right here. You know, this is all redacted, obviously. So she tries doing a trace route, she tries doing this and that, and she's like, well, you need a hacker to be able to do this because my skills are not good enough. And she's like, well, do you know somebody? Catherine's like, I guess. She's like, well, go give him a call, use the phone in the library, block number, and don't use my name. And then she looks down, and Catherine looks down and sees, oh, hey, look, Peter Solomon, he's learned how to text. So then she calls Malik and talks to him about it, thinking he's Dr. Abaddon and that he's been invited to the Smithsonian Museum Support Center. And he looks down at the message that he had sent her earlier. And then when her message comes in, oh my freaking God, he is manipulating Catherine so fucking badly, and she doesn't even realize it. Let's see. Professor Langdon figures out that the symbols he was seeing, the IIIX885, was actually reversed, and it's SBB13. So it's a place within the capital. Obviously, apparently. And so, well, SSB-13 is located. I know exactly where it is. We will go down there. And it's like, wow. Just down there, okay? So they leave. Of course, Sato also sits there and wants an x-ray of what's inside the bag that Landon is carrying. I don't know why. I guess she thinks it might be relevant. So we go to Mark Zubaini's, who gets a call from Trish and gets told what they want done. He's like, I can get this done in 15 minutes. After he realizes that her tracebacks don't work and it's in an IP that can't be traced, and it's like, I can play this. He's like, I know you're playing me for a fiddle too. Then we go back to Langdon and them going down to sub-level. And they realize that he's got to go to sub-level. Which sub-level? SB stands for Senate Basement, and SBB stands for sub-level basement, I think it is. And then it goes to Malik arriving, and he arrives in, and he goes and reflects back to how he got a hold of Mr. Solomon, the first time, saying his name is Dr. Abam. He wants to talk to him up in his penthouse. He goes up there, and then he's like, you do realize that you and I met many years ago, and that's when I put it together that he actually killed Peter's parents, because he had a question, and you never told me that. So Peter Solomon realizes that, it's like, you spoke those same words to me 10 years on the night of your mother's death. I want to know why. He's like, I warned you if you pulled the trigger, I would haunt you forever. And he's like, tonight you'll give me all your secrets, including why you left me for dead all those years ago. You killed him. So they're still going down to the sub-level basement. They get the key to go to the sub level. And they're like, we need the key for the SSB-13 in order to get in it. But they're like, we can't find it. But it has been delegated to Peter Solomon. Trish Dune, Virgo remembers when she first went into this Pod 5. And she goes out to go meet him. So yeah, she remembers, and then Catherine's like, I want this, and she's like, well, let's go wait for him, go to office, right? So they learn that it's a private room for Peter Solomon, yeah. And then they give you they give you a map, man, and it's like detailed as fuck, and this just fell out, and that's not cool. That's that, yeah. It's capital sub-basement, yeah. Mark Buzinski gets a phone call from the Central Intelligence Agency while you're trying to get into the classified database. So he knows it's CIA now. They have it. Warren Bellamy appears, and he's like, where's Chief Anderson? I heard you had an incident here. He's like, lead me to where it is. And then when they get, he's like, obey my wishes. Trisha enters in, finds Dr. Abam, and says, okay, let's lead. And then she talks about all of the everything that's going on. And then he's like, oh my god, what's in there? And all this other stuff, pretending like he's interested in a giant fucking ass squid. Which he's not really. He just wants to figure out how to deal with the fucking cameras, right? Because he knows the cameras are there. Of course, Landon can't stand tight spaces, but he's like, fine, we're going down. And then they find the door, and they're like, well, it's locked, so she's like, shoot it. Get it open. I need it open. And then he's like, oh, I can't do that. And then Langdon's like, what if something's in there that's so important that can't come out? She's like, I'm going to figure out what the fuck is going on, and you're going to shoot it, or I am. And then she takes it and shoots the lock. And to their horror, they find a human skull, a putrid smell, sulfur, and one with an assault. And she's like, how the hell would you know that? Sato says. Because, ma'am, there are rooms exactly like this all over the world. It's a ritualistic fucking room that Peter Solomon's is using. Anyways, Warren, Bailey, and Nunez get to the sub-basement, and he's like, go away, Nunez. Warren's like, I can figure it out. I'm going to go down by myself. So Malik is listening to all this dumb shit, and then he sits there and grabs her. Tell me your key, Pin, now. She tells the Pin after being threatened, and then he pushes her under the ethanol. And she breathes it in, and the ethanol kills her, obviously. And then he remembers seeing her there, how he killed Isabel Solomon, Peter and Catherine's mother. And he's like, what pod has a new specimen? Takes the key card, remembers the PIN number. And then he sits there and goes, now I have my own set of keys, so he can go in and do what he wants to do, which is, kill her. And then he's like, oh, my makeup is all mangled. But it doesn't matter. By the time Catherine puts it all together, it would be too late. So, obviously, that's what we're ending. So things are starting to pick up and get there in a way, in a sense, and all that lovely jasmine. I'm on 155. Paid 155 out of this, out of 509. So, I'm probably like 30% of the way through the book. But like I said, I'm extending it throughout the whole holiday season. I'm only reading 50 some odd pages a day. Today is actually the 24th of December, so I'm not going to tell you Merry Christmas or anything like that. Why? Because this video is coming out in March. What's the point of that? Maybe I could say, I hope you have a good April Fool's Day when April comes around. Yeah, basically that's it right now that I got for you. I got up not that long ago, drank some coffee, enjoyed myself, read my book, my 50 pages, and now I'm going to record my bookshelf tour. Okay. And that would have already came out on January 1st of 2026. That's when it's planned to come out. So I gotta record that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to record that lovely tour. And yeah, I think that's about all I'm going to. I might do more. There's a bunch of other things I could probably do, like my physical TBR. I can probably do that. I still gotta do my book rankings in the books I've read for this year. But those are, looks like there's a scheduled for Saturdays. Even though it says bookshelf tour is scheduled for a Saturday, I'm probably going to do the bookshelf tour today, so that way I can get it ready for then. Who knows? I'm going off script. Why? Because I'm supposed to be writing a fan fiction right now, dudes, and I really don't want to. But I will eventually get into writing it. Animals are weird, guys. I don't know if you know that, but animals are weird, okay? Dog is protective of dog food that the cat can't get. And the cat doesn't care. Hello. Dum-dum. 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 Alright, so yesterday I did not update you on my reading because it was Christmas and I came down with a major cramps. For women, you probably know what that means. For men, it's the monthly time. For women like me, unfortunately, I'm not old enough, thank God, to be not experiencing these. So, yeah, I did not update you on book. Okay. I didn't technically do anything that I really wanted to do yesterday because of said cramps. Because, cramps are just killer. They're very much killers in the women's lives. So we have 2 days worth of updating, because today and yesterday, which was Christmas Day. So I hope y'all had such a wonderful Christmas when you see this video. months later. I hope you had a wonderful time. Everything went great. You partied. If you party, you had presents. If you had presents, I got presents. Look at this present. It's Hendrix. I like K-pop Demon Hunters. Lots of things happen. Poor Robert Langdon. I don't know what it is, but he has a lot of problems with authority. In the sense that they always seem to be going after him, either for the right or the wrong reasons, okay? Yeah. So, the Masonic Chamber of Reflections is where we left off. They opened up the door and they found a bunch of weird-ass things inside of it. So he talks about how it's something that the Masons use to reflect about the inevitability of death, about the fleeting nature of life, and Sato is like very, I don't know, not happy about it. So, in the candlelight flickering, they find vitriol, which is the vista interioritaria rectificando in vinis occultum lapidum, which means visit the interior of the earth, and by rectifying you will find the hidden stone. Langdon, of course, is still very much, without a doubt, skeptic about everything that's been going on. Then they see that the fact that the candlelights flicker, and they're like, there's a draft. So they pull apart this canvas, and inside, in a little alcove-like thing, is a small, itty-bitty little pyramid, which, of course, Sato obviously thinks is the pyramid they've been looking for, and Robert Langdon thinks it is not the pyramid they are looking for. But, of course, normally that type of stuff is not inside the Chamber of Reflections, so it's a little weird. So there's letterings on it that, of course, means that somebody thinks Robert Langdon is worthy of knowing the knowledge. Of course, he doesn't really have the fucking knowledge that they want him to have, and he's still extremely, extremely skeptic about, like, everything that's going on. So Catherine's worried about Trish because she's taken so long, and so she pulls out her phone to call the lobby guard to ask about Trish. She's like, is Trish out there? No, your guest and her have headed back about 10 minutes ago. She's like, I don't think they're inside pod 5 yet. So she's like, hold on, I'll check. The guard checks and it says she's not yet opened the door for pod 5. Her last access was about 8 minutes ago at pod 3. She's giving you a little tour. Is my brother coming? And then she hangs up and she's like, it's nothing. It's nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about. Except it fucking is. Okay? So, there's this bunch of code stuff, of course, as you can see, this lovely code. And it's, an ancient encoded language. And he's like, I know they're symbols. They're not icons. And he's like, he knows the language. He's like, this pyramid is Peter's private property. And then she gets something on her BlackBerry, and she's like, Chief Anderson, a word in private. And then shows the x-ray of this itty-bitty little pyramid top. It's like, why wouldn't Langdon mention this? She's like, good question. Wondering why. They hear something, he's like, hello, is anybody out there? Nobody answers. He's like, still looking at the pyramid and everything. And then Sato's like, I've had enough of your lies. I've received new information. We have a problem. And the problem is, shows him the black and white photo with an object in it. He's like, what is this? And she's like, you're pretending you don't know? I'm not pretending anything. I've never seen it before in my life. She's like, you're carrying it in the bag. He's like, He's like, so this cube is in fact a hollow box containing a very small pyramid. That's what he has been carrying around, packaged and wrapped up in, because he hasn't unsealed it. He has not unsealed it at all. So he doesn't even know he didn't know it was there. And of course he's like, he didn't know. So she's like, for a bright man, Professor, you made dumb choices tonight, lying to an intelligence director, intentionally obstructing a CIA investigation. He's like, I can explain. And she's like, yeah, you'll be explaining a CIA. Okay, I'm detaining you. And he's like, you can't be serious. She's like, deadly. And like, so she's like, I am making Mr. Langdon into custody. Your weapon, if I may. So, just as he thinks he's going to be arrested and put into handcuffs and led away, and all his stuff taken, something happens, and in that chaos, the intruder grabbed a femur and lashed out, striking her in the shoulder with the leg bone, Sato, and making her drop the weapon. The newcomer kicked it away, grabbed, and he's like, the newcomer, an African American. So it's described in here, okay? I can't help the description. He says, grab the pyramid and follow me. And then we find out that it is Warren Bellium. And he leads him out. And he's like, Officer Nunez, not a word, follow me. He's like, you didn't. Our friend Chief Anderson is in the sub-basement. He may be injured. You'll want to check on him. Most importantly, you did not see us lock this door behind us. Put the tape back on as best you can. Pocket the key. And say nothing to anyone, including the chief. Is that clear, officer? The officer was like, it is. Unfortunately, he doesn't keep quiet. He's like, Professor Langdon, my name is Warren Bellamy. Peter Solomon is a dear friend of mine. So he's like, oh no, Peter's in trouble. His hand, he's like, you don't know the half of it, I'm afraid. So follow me. So he leads him around. And at that moment, Malik steps out of pod 3 and strolls briskly down the deserted main corridor to pod 5, mumbling her code, Trish's code. Dead Trish's code. Poor Trish. Okay? Alright, so Langdon gets a phone call as he's hurrying behind Warren Bellamy. And it is, of course, Malik making a phone call. And he's talking about, I know you have it. And he's like, I hear you have unexpected company. He's like, where's Peter? He's like, Peter's safe. He's like, you cut off his hand, he's not safe. He's like, he needs a priest, but you can save him. Peter will live if you do what I say. He's like, you need to solve this Messianic period. And he's like, this is it. This is what you've been looking for. You're chasing a myth. Peter told you. He told you in fear. It's fiction. He's like, I see he's told you very little. Whatever you believe this engraving reveals, it won't be the ancient mysteries. And he says, no, this is a map to the ancient mysteries. And Bellamy's like, hold up, how do you know it was a fucking map? There's more going on than what seems to be. Okay? So, he's like, I suspect there is more to the pyramid than meets the eye. Regardless, you alone possess the capstone. He's like, right now I have business to tend to, so you have to do this for me. And he's like, I will do nothing with special without proof Peter is alive. For all I know, Peter is dead. And he's like, don't worry. Do as I says, or you will find Peter dead. He says, what are you really looking for? He's like, I'm looking for to prove the mysteries are real. So he says, I suggest you get and work on it. I need it today. He says, it's already after 9 o'clock. He's like, exactly. Time is something. I'm babysitting, so, like, yeah. And then we go to New York editor Jonas Fuckman. He gets a phone call from Robert Langdon, and he's like, what I don't have... He's like, what you got for me? Hopefully you got pages for me to edit. He's like, I need you to give me Catherine Solomon's phone number. He's like, alright, I'm on it. You know, after a little bit while. And he's like, you owe me a manuscript, Robert. He's like, okay, bye. So he calls Catherine, and he's like, Catherine, thank God you're okay. Peter is in serious trouble. I don't know how to say it, but he's been taken. I'm not sure how or by whom, but taken captive. It must have happened early today or maybe yesterday. He's like, you to listen to Houston. He texted you. So she's like, he texted me. He's like, he texted you, but you didn't actually hear his voice. But no, listen to me. The text you received was not from your brother. Someone has his phone. He's dangerous. Whoever it is tricked me into coming to Washington tonight. Catherine, I think you could be in danger. I'm not deciding to read the message you got from Peter's phone. Then she read it. It's like, oh God, did you invite this man inside? You know, Dr. Abelman. Yes, he's my assistant went to get him from the library. I expect him back. And Catherine, get out now. Because obviously this guy is evil. And he will, of course, do evil things. So she rings again for Kyle. Hi, Kyle. And that's where Trish says, can you see on the monitors? He's like, do it. He's like, okay, scrolling. Oh, Trish getting your guests in the lobby. They move down the street, fast forwarding. Okay, they're into the wet pod. Trish uses her key to unlock the door. Both of them step into the wet pod, fast forwarding. Okay, here they are coming out. Wait a minute. The gentleman came out of the wet pod alone. And he's like, okay, what about Trish? Where's Trish? I don't see her in the video feed. Miss Lemon, we've got a serious problem. He has his key. So where is he now? She's like checking, fast forwarding. Okay, here he is, walking down the hall, moving towards my pad. How long until he gets behind? Ma'am, you don't understand. I'm still fast forwarding. This is a recorded playback. This already happened. Hold on, let me check the entry and event monitors. Ma'am, Miss Dune's key card pods shows a pod 5 entry about a minute ago. He already unlocked the pod. Yes, it looks like he in about 90 seconds. In there. Oh no. That's terrible. And then we switch over to Bellamy. Bellamy. Well, actually, no. I skipped something. So, she smells him and ducks and tries to run away, blindless, after she ditched her lab coat. Then we go back to Bellamy and Peter following, not Peter, but Langdon following. So, they have this big talk, and of course, they get into this area where they're hiding, and he's like, he asks him, Robert, did Director Sato tell you why she is so interested in this? He's like, it's possible that Director Sato has discovered this pyramid's true potential. So Catherine is struggling, and she's being led somewhere, and she's panicking. And Malik is like, this is not working, and then he realized that the smell on him would help him direct her where he wanted her to go instead of anything. And he thought he saw her phone, thinking she was phoning for help, and he jammed his hands into a solid wall as she escaped. So she's escaping, and she eventually pries open. I guess she gets out, and she runs for her car. Running across the lawn, she puts her hands up to make sure she doesn't blind herself, and the motion actively scared lights blaze to life. She hears a scream behind her. Get battery died, so I had to go get to charge it up while I'm doing this. So she gets into her car, and his words register what he says: I should have killed you 10 years ago the night I killed your mother. And she goes backwards until he lets go of the car because he grabbed onto it, and I guess the window was rolled down. I don't fucking know. And she just hit the gas. So Chief Chan, Anderson, and Sato attempt to find where they went. Nunez is also looking guilty, and so he gets when he gets the chief alone. He says, earlier I saw Langdon. I think I made a mistake and I'm resigning. And then they pretend that he just confessed to Anderson, and just like, give it up, you guys. You're both liars. I've seen this on the recording, the surveillance clip. Oh. So Robert Langdon hangs up his phone. Catherine promises her as soon as she was let out safe out of the lab and on her way to meet him, but she had never done so, so he's really worried about her. So they have more talks. Bellamy and Robert Langdon have a lot more talks about the Bible, the Masonic Pyramid, how legend is the reason why things are the way they are. It's, of course, wordplay to make sure things are done a certain way. And so he sits there and solves the first part of it, which leaves behind numbers SOEUATUN CSASVUNJ. And he's like, I don't understand what any of this is. And he said it's layers upon layers upon layers, which is, of course, something he should have known. Cryptographs and everything have layers upon layers upon layers upon layers upon layers upon layers. There's always layers. There's always layers somewhere. Of course, at the office, Director Sato is with her analyst, Nola K, and they are analyzing everything, and they have the same stuff that Langdon found, and he's like, go for it. Expand on the x-rays well so we can see what the capstone says. So she's like, I will do what I can. Sato's, of course, calls other people in, and she's like, gentlemen, your mission perimeters are clear. They have 2 targets. The stone pyramid and the smaller cube-shaped package. And she don't care if the target, the people carrying the targets live or die. She's like, I don't care how you do it. I just want you to get the items I've asked for. Fuck. So as Catherine's fleeing, she thinks about Peter and how somebody came, how Peter took the trust fund, withdrew it all, and went off to play, and then he got arrested, and then he got in Turkish prison, and then he got bludgeoned to death. Okay. And then she's thinking about how, while they're celebrating, sadly, because, they're very sad about it, with their mother, Peter and Catherine, somebody shows up. It's like, I knew your little boy Zachary in prison. He told me where this key was hidden. And so there's this big ass fight. And Catherine's mother gets in the way and gets hurt. And she's the one who dies instead of Catherine. And of course, Peter chased after the guy. So Malik's like, I must gain access to the lab. I must destroy. And so he actually decides that he is going to explode the lab to destroy all evidence of everything she has done, all of her research and everything. Destroy it all. Catherine calls 911 saying she was attacked at the Smithsonian and that she needed to send officers where she thinks her brother may be held captive. The operative doesn't really fucking care. Fucking bitch. So now we get back to Langdon and he's like, I don't understand any of this. And he's like, Peter, the capstone and the pyramid have been remained safe. Do not open it. Of course, then the lab explodes. And Solomon's like, oh, hey, look, there's fireworks. Then she realized that her lab exploded. And then we go back to Warren Bellamy, and he's talking about Robert, according to what I've heard through the years. The pyramid leads to an entrance to spiral staircase. I've heard other people say it's there. And then he sits there and says, you cannot open this and solve the problem. You cannot do that. You cannot do what you want to do. You have to let Peter die. It's what it is. And he's like, Peter Langdon's like, I've known Masons who don't believe in this kind of shit. And he's like, there's circles within circles, dude. Not every brother knows. And then they hear somebody ramming on some shit in the tunnels. And he's like, oh no. A homeless man sees White Viblos get up and she's like, I need to wait into the library. And she seizes the heavy ring handles and he's backwards and tries to get in again and again and again until she busts in. And guess what? Catherine was busting into where Bellamy and Langdon were. So, good on them. So he's like, oh, you're okay. And he's like, Catherine, he doesn't want your brother alive. And he's like, we don't have much time. You have to go. Get in there and go, because that's just it. Right? So then it goes to Malik thinking about everything he learned when he was inmate 37. So that was at the prison at Istanbul, where where Peter Solomon's son Zachary, and he's actually heading home while he's thinking about this. So he's listening to some people through a ventilation shaft with the prison administrator talking to Peter Solomon, and how he's like, well, pay his fines and we'll let him go and wipe out his history. He's like, nope, keep him in there. I want him home within a week. And then Zachariah's like, he wants the money. So Zachary, he comes up with this plan to steal Zachary's money and then kill Zachary. And then he chose a Greek name, Andros Darasos, and he's living the high. But then he sees this thing about Freemasons in the New World Order and about the pyramid and about a map, and he's like, oh, I heard about that. And that's when he goes to try to get it. And, it's like, that's where he said, if you pull the trigger, I will haunt you forever. And he's like, you already do, because he knows it's the one who killed. And then he gets there, and he finds out that there is somebody at his home. Okay, changing location, because my battery kept dying, and I didn't know why, so I emptied out the SD card. The micro SD card to see if maybe that would work while it charged some more. So this agent, Turner Simpkins, was hunting for them, and he found, of course, Mr. Bellamy, and just Mr. Bellamy, in a temperature-controlled environmental room. And when they caught him, he was like, where is he? And Mr. Bellamy's like, where's who? It's like, I don't think you want to play this game with me. Oh, you do not want to play this game with me. He told the rest of his team to go after Langdon. Or Langdon, of course, in very small spaces, was like immediately cloistered and did not like it. He had been given his key card, Mr. Bellamy's key card, and of course Bellamy's like, I'll buy you some time, just get out quickly before you circle back. Yeah. So the female security guard went by Malik's home, didn't see nobody there, said nobody was there, said nothing was going on, called it a false alarm, and then she was told by dispatch that, have a great night. She saw something before she got back in her car. Tapped in the glass, wondering if maybe someone was working down there. Said hello with no answer, and then she was just like tasered. So obviously, she ain't gonna live. Warren Bellamy had been flying blindfolded. He'd been escorted. They had physically threatened him. Didn't know where he was. Knowing his aging body couldn't take much, he told him his lie quickly. I told him to go up on the balcony. Of course, that was a lie. And sees two pieces were in the same room. Then he thought about meeting Zachary. Zachary, of course, the whole conversation between Zachary and his father about inheriting not only the Solomon family money, but as well as being his firstborn, being Peter Solomon's firstborn. He was to get an invite into the Masons, where he could get both money and wisdom, as well as the key to a very important map that would have been entrusted to him. Bellamy said, I don't think I should hold on to this. He's like, well, I don't want to worry about it right now. So then after the death of Zachary's death and the death of his mother, Peter summoned Bellamy to his office and said, did you bring it I'm going to hide it somewhere else. And he's like, don't tell me where you're moving it to. I don't want to know. But I know where I can keep this other piece of it. Most secure place in the world. In Washington. So now he was being blindly shoved through the Library of Congress. And he prayed that Robert Langdon was up to the job. So Robert and Catherine have a conversation about how important all this stuff is, and of course Catherine wants to open it because she wants her brother back alive, but Langdon's like, I was told to not open it. But she did. She couldn't help it, she did. And then it swoops over to this guy near the embassy row in Washington, who was an old man who had a phone call from Warren Bellamy, and he left a voice message which you need to listen to. He told me to ask you a question, a very strange question. And he's like, please help me inside after he heard the question. When she opened the package, she saw that there was an inscription on it. She didn't believe what the inscription said. Dr. Sato was saying that she would make Bellamy talk, and that Nola would have good news for her, which Nola didn't. She couldn't crack the thing, and she couldn't get the image on the X-ray to work. So there was just no way that I knew that was going to happen. The message that Langdon and Catherine had was, the secret hides within the order. The and the order are all capitalized. And then Catherine's like, didn't my brother tell you that this custom would give you power to see order, where the others only saw chaos? And of course, for the second time that night, Robert Langdon thought he was feeling very unworthy. And they couldn't figure shit out. So after Malik dealt with his unexpected visitor, he looked at the time and saw that was 10:02, and he realized that soon, of course Langdon hasn't called him yet, that soon he thought it would be much more by dawn. In the last couple pages, we have flip-flaps. Langdon is still trying to figure shit out, trying to figure a lot of stuff out. And then Catherine does the whole, hey Robert, does a year 1514 mean anything to you? 1514 AD, an inscription on the capstone. He figured it was an inscription. 1514 was not, AD was not a date. It's actually a person, so it means something. So he's like, well, I'll explain on the way, let's go. His attendant, apparently this guy's blind attendant, allowed him to be escorted into his house, which normally didn't happen, and he's dismissed him. So what the attendant figured out was that Warren Bellamy, another freshman sister, asked a strange question. Those same words had been uttered centuries ago by King Solomon as he mourned a murdered friend. The question was allegedly still spoken today by Masons, who used a kind of encoded cry for help. Warren Bellamy seemed to be sending a distress call to a fellow Mason. And then that's it. That's what we have so far. That's my update. Literally, we are like 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 days away from finishing, which is how many days are left until 2026. So make of that of what you will. I suppose I'll see you in the next clip. I got a bunch of shit to do, and then I gotta cook dinner. I don't know what I'm gonna cook. I'm gonna cook something. I've got to figure it out. I'm sure I'll figure it out eventually what I'm going to cook for dinner. Maybe. Or maybe I'll just wing it. I don't really actually know. I have read more. 2 days worth, because I didn't update yesterday because I felt like crap. Didn't feel good. I still don't feel technically 100% of the days. I don't know what it is, but my stomach just says, I hate you. And it's not cool. It's not cool, but there's nothing I can do about it when your stomach sits there and decides to hate you. You know, you just gotta live with it. Things have heated up quite a bit. So I think things are going to heat up more the further I go. So the AD was the Albert Dürer, which he had a thing for it. I don't know. There's a bunch of shit going on in this that doesn't make sense. But there was this painting this dude did. It was 15, 14 was a number in a squared box. And that's how they solved part of it. Not all of it. Because it's still got a secret within a secret within a secret. Bellamy gets left in a forest area where Sato says, where shall we begin? So the numbers change it out to be something different. Because, we're going to flip-flop. It's just... And it's Jehovah Sanctus Unus. And he couldn't figure out what in the world that was all about. Then they get a phone call from this dude who says, meet me at this location at this time. And make sure you're not followed. And then Malik gets a text message saying what you require is within your reach now. I will contact you within the hour. Patience. Then they find out all points lead directly to the Adams building where they are. They decide to get into a taxi to go to the place they needed to go to, and she throws out their phone because they get off the grid. And while Omar is driving them, of course, and it comes over about these two fugitives, and it's them, and he calls and they contacts, and then he puts on a button to make sure they could hear what's going on. Dr. Saito speaks about her stuff, and she says, okay, well, you're fast at losing your usefulness. I don't know. I don't know what Sato's in for. I don't know why she's doing what she's doing. It won't lead until the end. Catherine realizes something and redirects them somewhere else with something else. And, then we're going to Freedom Plaza and all that lovely stuff, and they think we got him. Omar's like, well, there you go, that's it. Alexandria King Street Station, so that's where they think they're going to find him. Robert and Catherine are on a train going somewhere. Malik has a memory about him getting rescued, and then hearing about the fact that he murdered Isabella Solomon. All the stuff that he did during that time, all the tattoos he got, all the things that made him think he was a masterpiece, of course. They think they got the right train, but they don't. They don't have the right train. They stop the car, and they get there. They don't get nobody. So, Robert and them meet the dude, who is apparently a fucking dean. Dean Galloway. Warren Belly's like, I'm not going to tell you what's going on. He's like, you've been helping them. You've been sending texts. So he's been sending texts to Malik as well. They're always working for Malik, the bad guy, for some reason. And then Agent Hartman gives him a briefcase with something in it that would definitely persuade him that he was wrong. Okay.
Galloway, yeah. Reverend Colin Galloway says a bunch of shit. Blah, 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 blah. They do a lot of discussions. There's a lot of discussions about how it's a secret within a secret. And the guy goes, You do not yet have eyes to see. So then, Bellamy is letting on the secret, and he's like, oh my god, I made a terrible, terrible mistake. Now he's going to try and get a hold of Robert to tell him, hey, I made a terrible, terrible mistake. Don't go to the Dean Galloway. Obviously. They're talking, and they open it up. And, well, he finds a circle within a dot, right? So, it all comes down to the 3rd degrees. They open it up, and it turns into a cross. Now, the dot represents a rose, so it's a rose cross. And then they get into the history of the rose cross. He's like, you gotta hurry now, we gotta go. I'm not gonna know no more secrets, no more nothing, I don't want nothing else, from this. And, of course, Bellamy is trying to get a hold of Robert. Malik is thinking about his dumb shit. He's just thinking about how he's gonna do everything correctly. Right? Galloway thinks he's now gonna be able to see a miracle. Well, hear a miracle, obviously, because he can't see, because he's blind. Nola and Rick, some security gets a hold of Nola about, a pinging, and she's like, we had this redacted document being pinged, and it being pinged on your side as well, so here. She's like, bring everything you got down here now. He's like, okay. So she figures something out. And decides to boil the thing because of the Newton scale at 33 degrees temperature for boiling. And obviously a text shows up, and it says in the text, 8 Franklin Square. Okay, so that's what they get. So she calls, and they call Malik, and a woman answers, and she's like, I'm Officer Paige Monroe, maybe you can help us with this. About an hour ago, my partner responded to a 911, a possible hostage situation. I lost all contact with her, so I called back up and came to check the residence. We found my partner dead in the backyard. The homeowner was gone, so we broke in. We found this dude. He's in bad shape. He keeps asking for a Langdon and a Catherine. So you need to come. Then, yeah. So they're like, well, we have to get him. Sato arrives, and they figure all this stuff out. Yay. Warren Bellium texts saying you gotta figure out the missing piece, and Malik's like, now I see what it is, because they did the secret hides within the order blank Franklin Square. So now they all think he's gonna come to Franklin Square. Well, he calls, and he says, I need to see Peter. He's like, well, I'm driving. Peter's in the backseat of my trunk. You're not going to get nothing unless you give me what I want. And he's like, come to 1 Franklin Square. We'll meet in the middle. And then Galloway's like, the Masonic pyramid has always kept her secret sincerely. And so they shunt off to the heights thinking they're going to get Peter Solomon. So she's waiting. Sato's waiting in town square on a roof, waiting for 2 phone calls. And when they get there, bad stuff happens. She gets flying. She goes and flies. So yeah, she can't stop her flying, but nothing. Don't worry, she doesn't do anything bad. But Agent Hartman's now dead. She gets tied up. Robert gets laid out on the floor because he gets mad, and then he realizes that there are some more stuff in it. That the Galloway had told him secret, sincera, which is without wax. So obviously there's something else going on. 8 Franklin Square is not the final answer, but they think it is. He gets bashed in. And then we talk about how Malik, how he did everything. You know. Malik really likes to talk about himself. I don't know why they had to do this repeat of how it came about from Malik. and the darkness of everything that he had long embraced, because he's going to sacrifice Peter Solomon for something. Probably Catherine Solomon as well. I don't know what he's going to do with Robert. But it's the way it is. That's what we've got so far. I'm on page 361 now, and we'll read that tomorrow, which is Monday. Almost done. We've only got like 3 days left of reading. So that's going to be fun. Things have definitely picked up. I might actually not update you until the very end after I read the whole thing, because I don't know how excited I'm going to be, and of course I have to put it off, so I have to make myself make it worth it, because like I said, I'm going to read until the last day, and I'm going to have like 364 days of reading under my belt instead of 365, but next year it will be 365 because I'm not going to read. That's just how that's going to go. I actually have to sit there and pull out my next books for my read, so that way I can get them all ready to go. And I'm not going to read them in any order that, like, what I've read before, like, in the orders, because I actually read this out of order. Palace of the Damned was supposed to be the last one and not this one. But I made this one the last one because it's the thicker one. So I'm going to do the reading in any fucking order I want. There's 31 days in January, so I should be golden on that end. Hopefully. Cross my fingers. Right? So, I'm not going to go in the order of how I pull them out, especially since Audible makes it easier for me to do things. So, yeah, that's going to be great. And they're going to go up in whatever fucking order I want to put them up on YouTube. So, don't expect a great order, because I'm not going to have them in order. Then again, you're not seeing this until March. So, what does it matter? You've got 3 months before you're going to see this. Yeah, that's fun. Probably not fun. You probably will be, like, disappointed or whatever, but all these other videos I want to get up, and I'm only posting twice a week, it helps expand, because if I only posted twice a week, all my videos, I'd run out of videos, and I'd only have to post, like, once every time I get a video up, every time I finish a book, and that's no way to really sustain things. The only thing that goes up every month, regardless if I post it twice a week or not, is the TBRs at the first day at the beginning of the month. That's about it. So everything else is done in a systematic way of me trying to make sure I have something to post for you, have content for you to watch every week, 2 times a week at least. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. This is the last day of December for me. Not for you. Like I said, you're going to see this in March. And there's totally reasons why you're seeing this in March and not in January or anything like that. Half-little It's because if I did that, I would be caught up and I would never be perpetually be able to give you something to look forward to. Because according to my chart, I will physically catch up to my reading more than you think I will. Because this will be posted in sometime in March, and whatever in January will be posted starting in March to April, right? By the time I get to my May reads, I will be posting those in August. So that means my June reads will also go into August. And that means it'll expand over to September. And that's mean my July, my August will go into September and October. So you see it'll get closer and closer. And then I'll have to push the shit back out. Again. To extend my ability to give you 2 books a month on top of my TBR that I do every 2 videos a week on top of my TBR once a month. So that's how that goes. That's how my command is and everything. But anyways, I finished the book, and I gotta say, all the excitement happens in the read after where I quit. And then after that, it's the denotement or whatever it is, demountment or whatever, of everything's fine, everything's good, nothing's happening anymore. That's high risk, high stakes type deal stuff. So, we start off with Sato and Nola talking about the 8 Franklin Square and how it should exist because she's on the roof of the 1. And then Robert Langdon gaining consciousness, and he's inside of a box, naked, of course, inside this box, and it's definitely his ultimate nightmare. And Catherine is tied to a chair with an IV in her, and her blood starts dripping the fuck out of her. So yeah. Then we go back to Sato and her thinking about the building of the, that they're situated around waiting for Malik to come to, is the ancient Arabic order, the nobles of the mystic shrine, also known as Shriners, who are part of the Masons. And she's thinking about how her agent is overdue in contacting her, but she doesn't really do anything about it. So, Catherine finds out that Robert's inside of the big-ass box, and suffocation is only what he wishes he would happen. So, he starts pumping in water into the crate that Langdon is inside of. So they're trying to drown him. You may remember that I almost drowned. Malik's like, you may remember I almost drowned this once. It was you and your family's estate in Potomac. Your brother shot me and I fell through the ice out at Zach's Bridge. God protected me that night and they showed me the way to become one of them. So Langdon is like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. Water. So Catherine's like, you gotta get him out. He's like, what about the missing word? She says 8. It's 8 Franklin Square. And then she's like, that's all I know. But what about the symbols on the base? And she's like, what do you mean? And he shows her. He's like, I have no idea what it means. But he's like, we have a specialist because I don't either. So he shows the symbols to him. And Langdon gives him, well, Langdon's like, I don't know what it means. But you need to go to 8 Franklin Square. The answer is there. But then he's thinking about other things. Yes, there must be the secret hides in the order. He's like, let me out. I can help you. And she's like, no, I know there's people waiting there for me. So no, but you better hurry. Think fast. So Robert's thinking and he's thinking about the total chaos of it and everything. And then he figures out that the 8 Franklin Square is actually something completely different. So he says, I solved it. Let me out. He's like, tell me. And he's like, oh, let me out. Tell me or you die. And then he says what it is, and then he's like, thank you, Professor. Enjoy your afterlife. So, now we have this whole thing where he may or may not die, you know? Because of the dude. And it's kind of sad that is. Okay? So, he realizes that he's going to die, so he takes a breath of light, and he sees a blinding flash of light, take a breath of air, and he sees a flying flash of light, and then darkness, and then Robert Langdon is gone. So you think he's drowned. You think it. Everybody thinks it. Catherine does. Robert does. Malik just pretends like he is. So, yeah. Nola and Rick goes and I wanted to show you, Nola, everything that you wanted. And then the CIA director himself is part of it. Agent Simpkins is on Franklin Square. Nothing is happening. So she's like, well, we're pulling out. We're going to the address here at Colomar Heights. Okay. So Malik's like, I got everything I need. The professor said you need an 8x8 magic square, which is like the same with the 3x3 square that they had used to solve part of it. So he had looked it up, and he had solved it, apparently. He had solved it. So He knew where he was going, so that's what he was doing. So, Catherine saw her brother. Well, actually, Catherine thinks about the weighing of something. So, this guy who was dying gets put on in his side of a scale and gets weighed. Okay. He agreed to it. And so he's weighed, and then when he dies, a few seconds later, the weight that he's weighed goes down a little bit. And she's like, I think you just sat there and weighed a soul, a human soul. So she's thinking about that, and then Malik pulls out Peter, and she's like, he killed Robert. And he's like, yep, and I'm going to kill Catherine too if you don't do it as I say. You're going to stay here. And he's like, she'll stay alive for an hour or so. If you cooperate with me quickly, I'll have enough time to save her. Of course, if you resist me at all, your sister will die here and alone in the dark. And then they leave. So Robert is like hanging in a world of pure consciousness now, fleshless, sentient, suspended in the emptiness of a vast universe. His body had released him. He was untethered. So he's technically not dead. He's floating. We don't know why he's floating in water, but he's floating. He's floating. They get there and they're like, well, where is everybody? Right? And then they find the dead guy and they find another officer, and then they're like, well, we gotta find. And Robert's thinking about, for verbum significum, for some reason, 10 seconds, 10 days, 10 minutes. He doesn't know how long he's been there, right? So, Sato finds the way and blasts in to get it. And Robert is still thinking about Apocalypse and Franklin, and then he thinks about a seminar he had where Peter came in and they talked about the Apocalypse in the Bible. Of course, this is all fiction, by the way. None of this is factual. This is fiction for his story. Don't believe a lot of it, because he's like, Apocalypse means revelation, to reveal in the old language, so that's what it is. And then Catherine is, of course, tearing, and then she smells smoke, hears an explosion, and they ask where to go. She said the Sacred Mountain, and they give her what she needs to be able to survive. And then Sato says that Robert Langdon is floating in breathable liquid. So he's literally sensory deprivation with liquid, breathable liquid. That's literally what's happening to him. So he's alive, yay! And they decide to get him out of there. And it's a shock to his system to get out, and he freaks out a little bit. But then he's like, "Yep, I know where I am." And then he goes, "I think I might be able to remember the order of the 8 Franklin Square." So he does what he can. Nola's found new information. Bad news is that the dude's carrying a laptop, so now they gotta sit there and isolate because he's obviously going to do something. So Malik brings Peter to where he needs to go, and Robert Langdon is trying to remember the symbols to figure out what's going on. And he realizes that where he's going is the Herodome, which is the house of the temple, which of course Malik also knew. And then they find a security footage of all of the people who are in the May 633 third degree, and that he's going to upload it using his computer. And then Langdon's like, take me with you, I know where to go, I know what to do. And then Malik talks to Peter about Catherine's time being short and how they're going to do everything, and you're going to give me what I want, which is the lost word. Everybody thinks about the code and everything like that. And he realizes that what he can do is he's going to lie to extend it. So he gives it to him, and then Malik puts it on his forehead, and he's like, "No, you're going to do the last thing that I need you to do for me." Langdon gets in a helicopter. Gets dropped off a little bit away, and they start heading that way, right? So that's when they realize that there's a security footage and everything, and they're going to release it. And they're still looking at his house to see what's going the fuck on. Catherine is still behind. And then there's a massive file, and it's like, don't worry. Malik's like, it'll take a while. You just need to give me what I want, right? Of course, he does eventually give him what he wants. He's like, I am complete. Last word is found. And then Bellamy's like, I found the answer why he targeted your family. And then, you know, Malik talks about everything and how he wants Peter to end his life because that's what he wants to do. Is he wants to give up his own thing. He's like, Peter's like, you think killing you is going to be a punishment? Do you think I will hesitate? You murdered my son, my mother, and my entire family. He's like, no, you were wrong. I did not murder your family. You did. It was you who made the choice to leave Zachary in prison. And from there, the wheels were in motion. You killed your family, not me. Because I am Zachary. He says, the most important, what kind of father can look his own son in the eyes, even after all these years, and not even recognize him? Malik is Zachary Solomon. So, Peter gets, you know, freaking mad because he prompts him to. Malik's like, you can do this, you can, you know, kill me because I did all this shit. I did everything. All because of you. So when Catherine learns that Zachary was the one behind it all and that Zachary was the one to recognize. And then he sits there, Langdon reveals to Simpkins that there is actually a temple skylight. And so it's like, take her up because she's still in the helicopter. So Peter goes to stab him once, but doesn't get a chance to do it again because Robert gets in the way of it. But Sato sits there and makes the massive glass on top explode in the shards plummeting below. And that's what literally ends his life. So Langdon's like, your sister's okay, we're okay. He's like, no, Catherine's dead, she must be, because he doesn't believe that. He's like, I don't know if you can hear me, but I want you to know something. What you wrote here is not the lost word. He says, you're not complete. He said, the lost word is known to all, but recognized by few. You remain incomplete. And then he dies, and while Malik is dying in his own head, he thought he was going to go up and be welcomed with open arms, but he's like in fear and in disgrace and all that kind of stuff. So Dean Galloway's like, I need to pray, I'm glad he's fine, but the word's not completely revealed, but you will understand it in time, to Bellamy. Catherine finally arrives where Peter is. And they're like, oh my god, you're okay. And they realize that there's a third person in the room that's dead. You know, and she can't think about the fact that it was her nephew the whole time that did all that shit. And then she says, it's okay. I'll be strong for you. You can let go right now. And so Peter cries his bloody eyes out. She's like, yeah, there we go. So she's like, I've got to go somewhere. Catherine's like, I got something. He revealed something important to me. I've got to go check it out. But he wants to sit there and see you. That's when Peter and them have this whole conversation about everything. And he's like, you need to see something. You need to come with me. You haven't solved the whole thing yet. And so then he is taken to somewhere. And Nola is introduced to the fact that the whole massive file that the hacker had gotten to was about Kryptos. And it was a Kryptos about Kryptos, which is a coded thing that sits in the CIA area. And it's just a big ass thread that was what the hacker found. And that's about it. Robert Langdon is like blindfolded while he's going to this area, which is of course the Washington Stone obelisk mountain thingy monument, and he's at the very top of it with a winding staircase that goes all the way down. And that's when Robert Langdon finds out that the words Laus Dio, which is what's born on the outside in a golden cap on the obelisk, says, and it means praise God. And that's what the little symbolized thing that he was looking at was all about. And then there's a big ass speech about how the lost word is actually the Bible, and that the Masons had buried this Bible underneath in a capstone when they built this monument, which of course it says that it they say that you can't build nothing higher than that in the Washington Capitol. Yeah. So the ancient Peter's like the ancient mysteries in the Bible are the same. It was all just there to be covered. And then Peter goes to the hospital because that's what Robert asked him to do, and they go back to the Capitol Rotound where it all started for Peter. I mean, not Peter, but Robert, where he found his hand. And Catherine talks about her neotics science and how people's thoughts can influence everything, and how everybody was reading the Bible wrong, which of course don't believe that. I mean, like, this is all purely fiction, but in this purely fictional world, apparently the Bible, when it refers to you're the temple, that you are God, it's like our bodies are temple, our minds is where we're housing the treasure is, and also the fact that we are the creators, so obviously we are made in the image of God, so that means we are freaking gods. Yeah, which of course is just purely fucking fictional if you ask me, but there's this word Elohim, that's a Hebrew word for God in the Old Testament, but it's plural. So one, but as many. Out of many, one. Yeah. And then, like I said, there's a very old law decreeing that nothing taller can be built in our capital city. And they're sitting there watching the sun rise off this giant capstone, and they're like, there's hope. That's the end. The end. Our days are over. Everything is over. It's the end. That's what it ends with. Weird existential information, which is purely fictional in this story because it's the way the storyline meant to go. So take all of it with a grain of salt. And I'm briefing over a lot of it because there's a lot of it in there that I didn't understand, and it just went over my head, and I don't think I need to touch on it. So if you want to read it, go ahead. It's mystery, thriller, suspense, fictional things. Take it with a grain of salt. Okay? So, my favorite character in this is, of course, Robert Langdon, because, like, his mind is brilliant. That's what it is. His mind is brilliant when it comes to symbology, but also when he doesn't have the full pieces, he can't piece everything together, but he can over time while he's thinking, because he's got all this history inside of him about symbology, and it's just, like, piled up and piles up and piles up. Right? My most disliked character is Zachary Solomon, or Malik, or whatever you want to call him, because he heard himself being left in prison, so he bribed himself out of it, and he decided, because his father left him there, that he was going to get revenge eventually and kill his own grandmother by accident, while trying to kill his aunt, was going to kill his own father, so that way he could ascend and be with God. That was the whole point of that. Dumbass shit. Right there. What's it all is memorable? Dan Brown really likes the Masons and the Bible and scriptures and things like that, because in the last one, the Da Vinci Code, it had what? Or was it Angels and Demons? One of them had the Vatican, which is what Christianity is built on in Italy. And then another one was, it's all dealing with that kind of stuff. Like Mary Magdalene, Jesus' wife that got pregnant without conception. Or the one who carried Jesus without getting, having intercourse with a man. So it's all really stemming around Jesus and the Bible and God. That's what most of his works are about. just like the lost symbol was about that. My favorite passage is towards the back, really. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but I know it's back here somewhere. Yeah, here it is. So, speechless, Langdon stared out through the window. His gaze traveled into the darkness of the night, traveling more than a mile of empty space, dropping lower and lower through the darkness until it came to rest atop the brilliantly illuminated stark white dome of the U.S. Capitol building. Langdon had never seen the Capitol from this perspective, hovering 555 feet in the air atop America's great Egyptian obelisk. Tonight, for the first time in his life, he had ridden the elevator up to the tiny viewing chamber at the pinnacle of the Washington Monument. That's his, big revelations about a lot of stuff, because a lot of shit gets revealed in that area, and it's just whoosh, shit that happens. My favorite quote, now if I could find that would be nice, right? There's so many tabs I've done, so I have to, go digging for it, because there's a lot, but I'm sure it's one of these red or black tabs, because I'm pretty sure that's what I used to tab it, so that way it would be a little easier to find. But where did I tab it, how did I tab it, and when I tabbed it is really the big ass question. That ain't it. It's somewhere. I'll find it. Give me a few. That ain't it. That ain't it. That ain't it. That ain't it. Is it this one? No. Is it this one? Yes, it is. I found this funny. Okay. A blind guy says this to Robert Langdon. This is why it's my favorite quote. You do not yet have eyes to see. That is what my favorite quote, because it's so freaking hilarious. This blind guy who can't see shit tells Robert Langdon, who has eyes and can see. Well, one guy has eyes, but obviously they don't work. But Robert Langdon's eyes do work, and he's like, you do not yet have eyes to see. What the? What? It's freaking hilarious. Okay. So what do I thought about the ending of the book? Well, everybody lives. That's majorly what I wanted to live. People who were important to live, in my opinion. The person who did it all, who died, he obviously misunderstood a lot of shit. And if he had just gone back and said, hey, Father, I'm going to be part of the Masons, instead of going cuckoo crazy in the head and realizing that, we want to teach me a lesson. All that lovely, wonderful shit. It was an okay ending. I mean, a lot of info dump at the end that wasn't really necessary. But I understand it was for Robert Langdon's purpose that it all had to be dumped on him, because obviously maybe it's setting up for something in the future, like the Secret of Secrets, or maybe Inferno, or the Origin. Whatever's in those might be what all of this was setting it up for. I don't know. Maybe they just wanted to sit there and have a chat with the viewers, the readers, about this kind of shit. I don't know. I just thought it was okay. It wasn't necessary in my book to show any of that, but I like how it ends with hope. I like how that ends. It's like he has hope for the world. What book did it remind me of? The other two books in Robert Langdon, because he has this uncanny knack of being chased by authorities for misunderstandings. Misunderstandings completely in a whole world thing. That's what it is. That's what it is. This book is part of a series called Robert Langdon, and there are technically 6 books out at this time of this recording in 2025. The newest one being The Secret of Secrets. This is the 3rd book in the series. So, have that what you want. I rate this one a 4 stars, okay? Because of everything that happens within it, not the information about the Bible and stuff. That's just info dump that wasn't really half as important as the actual what happened. The Masons being in trouble and shit, that kind of stuff. is where it was at. The action, the adventure, the thriller, the mystery of it all. That's what caught me more than anything else. So, if you guys think I deserve a like, comment, and a lovely subscription, why don't you go ahead and drop it down below. I will see you next illusion.